welcome to the Almost 30 podcast.
Hello, my friends. What's happening? Welcome to the show. I'm Lindsey. This is Krista. We're here for the party.
We're here to party. And if you're new, what's up? We've been doing this for 6 years now. We built it from the ground up. Lindsey and I didn't know anything about podcasting or building businesses when we started. And now here we are. Wearing hilarious matching hats. Actually, our guest today, these are her brands, Covey's hats. And I love this hat.
I'm obsessed with this.
She's like, you can give it to your mom. I'm like, no.
Well, I mean, Emily is from the world of fashion. I'm like, of course you have a cute
It's so dope.
hat.
So she came in so kind, brought us gifts, some of her new line, and then these dope hats. And we were like, we need to put them on for the intro. So if you're watching on YouTube, that's these hats. They look and feel amazing. And actually, I manifested this because lately I've been walking around and I'm like, I need a baseball hat.
Oh.
I need to keep it chill and low key with a baseball hat.
You need to not be recognized everywhere you go.
100%. Everyone's recognizing me. No, but there is something sexy about a woman in a baseball hat.
Oh, I completely agree.
You know what I mean?
I'm such a hat person.
That's
like,
why
I need.
I'm so sexy.
That's so hot.
Yes, honestly.
Watch out.
God. I was wearing a bucket hat. I was in Las Vegas a few weekends ago. I don't want to talk about it, but I was wearing a bucket hat, and this guy comes up to me. He's like, "Yo, that's a sweet Kangol hat."
Kangol? What's that?
I was like, "Sir, it's Kangol."
Oh.
He's like, "What?" I was like, "It's Kangol." He's like, "No, it's Kangol."
He's like, "Oh, she said Kegel."
Yeah, so true. But maybe that was the reason. Maybe, you know what? I always think about that. I'm like, maybe that's a good line because then you're starting conversation if you're messing up the name.
And he's
so
like, what?
I don't think that's what was happening, but if it was, I'll never forget someone. I remember I was somewhere with Justin and some guy came up to me and was like, it was when we used to go to bars. And he was like, "Oh, I know you from somewhere. Where do I know you?" And I was like, for 10 minutes. I was like, "Oh my God," trying to think. I'm like, maybe Ohio. And Justin's like, he's hitting on you. And I was like, I didn't realize, but that's a good one.
That is a good one.
Like, hey, I recognize you from somewhere. Where?
Totally. But it's a total lie.
I know. Lying's not a good pickup line, I guess. Basically, we're sexy baseball hat girls. What of it?
Here we are. Oh, man. Yeah. I mean, Emily is it's one of those people that she's beautiful on the outside, but like she's also extra beautiful when you like meet her because you're like, your heart is just so pure. She's sweet. She's funny. She's just a smiley, cool, beautiful person.
It's weird. I've watched her YouTube. I love her YouTube channel. And that's, a lot of the reason why we wanted to have her on the show to talk about just being a content creator, body positivity or body, acceptance and a few other things. But I was like, when I watched her on YouTube, I'm like, she's so cool and she's smart. Like you can tell I was like, oh, she's like really cool and really smart. And there's something really magnetic about her.
Yeah, completely. She tells us just like, I like in interviews when we can kind of go back, and kind of track like her story because I find there's always these little pieces of someone's story that they kind of like gloss over in speaking, but then it just says so much about them. And I mean, she was on her own in New York since she was like 18, and I think that really takes a very special type of person to really like take New York by the horns.
Dude. She'd be like, I didn't take it by
the lasso, by the reins,
That's a big thing to take it by the balls when you're 18. Like, dude, she's like, I didn't do that.
But that takes courage.
It does.
It really takes courage. But she probably didn't know what it's like
to be that young and be so impressionable and be in those type of rooms and have your body judged and criticized. Like, I feel like we think about how critical body criticism, and it's 99% us talking to ourselves, but to have that inner dialogue and then have it affirmed or even made more extreme through critiques and feedback from casting directors and people in the industry is unreal.
Well, it's just always so distorted because, it's like they're making they're either saying no or making these like offhanded comments about things. And it's usually something so silly. Do you know what I mean? Not silly, but like, it's like, her hair is too brown. It's like these things that like you can't change about yourself, but obviously, especially if you're young, you're impressionable. You're like, well, maybe I can't change that about myself. And maybe I could be chosen.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Too friendly.
They said to come late.
Dude, it's so weird.
That's a vibe with casting.
Well, it's an air because,
yes.
and I think last thing I'll say about casting, but like I feel like they're also thinking about what is it going to be like to work with this person. So it's like, if it feels green, they're like, I'm a little nervous. You feel green. You feel
They're like, oh, she's friendly. I don't know. They're like, be late. Don't be friendly. They're like, I'm thinking about working with them. They're going to be late and not literally. Friendly. It's like, literally. It's such a, that whole industry because of that freaks me out. That whole vibe of like, don't care, show up late, be cool, wear all black.
Yes. Well, she was on time. I'll say that.
Dude,
she was on time to our
1
interview.
minute early.
But we're here in New York. Krista is here visiting, and we are batching our episodes, which is, you know, a change that we've made since I moved to New York. And yeah, there's just been, I feel like it's gone pretty smoothly, but there's definitely an adjustment period. And when we do get together, and we make these trips, we've had to really kind of adjust how we manage our energy.
I was thinking about actually for tour, I think we batched more than I thought. And then actually when we were working full-time jobs, we were actually batching more than I thought. So actually we've batched a lot more than I thought, but I feel like these weeks, like, so Lindsey and I will get together every other month for about a week and a half and do at least like probably like 3 interviews a day and then have other types of recording. And, you know, I was thinking when we were recording yesterday about how tight you have to be and how sometimes, you know, if you're not well slept or you're not well rested or you're not on top of it, you can like lose your thought, you can lose your words. And when your business is speaking or when your career is speaking and making connections to things and asking the right questions and being interested and being on, it's so different. And it's interesting how our routines have to like help us support that. So it's like, you know, when I was working in the corporate world or doing other things, my routine supported like a different part of what I do, but we have to be so sharp to like be on for the interviews. Cause if you've listened or if you've, you know, if this is your first time or if you've listened for a long time, we don't cut really anything. We don't do much editing beyond, you know, just like general editing things that people do. So we try and be like as sharp as possible. But I think for me, what's really helped in that world is just sort of being mindful in my morning of like what I'm consuming. And that is like not getting on Slack if we have interviews, because then I'm sort of caught up in the day-to-day of what we need to do. And that will really bring me out of the moment. So if I'm reading emails or Slack or text messages, then I can be so in the world of like, I should get by my computer. I should do this thing. I need to get on monday.com and reply to this thing or whatever. And that will completely bring my energy out of like where it needs to be. So I think it's really important for even people that are working in different types of jobs, like what sort of energy hygiene or how are you going to be mindful of what you're consuming before important things you're doing, important meetings, important presentations or whatever it is, because you can have that residue of the to-do list from that brought into something that's really important to you.
It's like we're like athletes.
But
kind of, you know, it's like you
we got our baseball hats on. We're for real athletes.
But you really have to get in the zone.
Yes.
You know, and I am someone that I can get incredibly distracted and then just wrapped up in things like almost like emotionally, not like, it's not dramatic. It's more so like if there is something on Slack and if there is a conversation over here, I get a text message. It's like I split and then I'm not fully in my body. And then I'm like, wait. Have to be here, first of all. And also just really thinking thoughtfully about like, okay, who's coming into the studio? What is my intention with this conversation? What is our intention, you know, in inviting this person on the show? And then, you know, how do I want to make them feel? Like just kind of really getting into that zone, because I think I do some of the technical stuff when we're doing interviews, and in doing that, sometimes I'm like, oh wait, like there's a person in front of me, you know, there's a human being here. And so it's like being really mindful of like my own energy and then just like connecting with that person, you know, because I think that's part of like the je ne sais quoi of our interviews, is that we really take time beforehand to just like ground down with this person. We don't like say like, hey, we're grounding down right now. We're just like having a normal conversation. And I think that's really, really helpful. Another thing I'll say is like, preparation. You know, I've definitely gone into interviews not as prepared as I've wanted to be. And that adds to my nerves. That makes, you know, what I say very like kind of vague and unclear. And then I just have anxiety. So it's never good.
Yeah. And I think us getting on walks every morning, getting outside. So if you can, you know, getting outside before you start your day, moving your body in some way that feels really good. I would feel like if I sit for too long, I don't feel good. I'm always moving. And so it's like being able to move and kind of get your energy out, get your body going, getting some nice sunlight, really getting outside and remembering like the beauty of nature, the beauty of existence outside of like the work that you do, I think is also really, really important and really helps me to be more present in our interviews.
Yes, completely. And then just making sure that like, you know, Krista and I can like talk for hours about like what we have to do and the business and everything like that. And it's just kind of being mindful of like how much we're giving out, like literally vocally, you know, it's not only about saving our voices, but it's really, you can get tired. Like sometimes we just want to, you were saying earlier, like a silent retreat. It's like sometimes it really serves us to be quiet for a little bit so that like, I don't know, it's like pulling the energy back in. So I think that's really, really helpful. So whether we're just like working and we're not talking, or we'll just kind of take time, go on a walk and just not talk too much is helpful.
Yeah. I think, you know, finding those friends that you can be quiet with, that you can be silent with is really important. And I've been trying this lately, but doing it Sundays, like being as long as I can in silence, you know, if it's the morning, it's like until Justin is looking for something and he needs me to like help him find something is when I talk, but just trying to like do concerted time where you're like being silent and you're letting yourself rest and you're letting all of your thoughts and emotions sort of like process and work through your body and work through your mind, because we're consuming so much, you know, we're consuming so much online, we're consuming so much with podcasts, with YouTube, with social media, with relationships, with work, that we often don't let what we're consuming or what we're learning sort of work through and integrate. And you know, sleep is so important for that. That's really your brain's filing time of a lot of information. It's like putting away what's important to remember, and it's really letting go of what isn't. It's like that cleaning system for the computer of your body. So we have to always let ourselves, or we have to try to let ourselves do that naturally too, having that like brain processing time to sort of work through emotions, whatever we're consuming, things that we're learning, etc.
Yeah, for sure. And I think also just like injecting fun, laughing, you know, if you are finding yourself at work getting a little bit unmotivated or, just kind of like distracted in ways, I think laughing and just like having fun, even going outside, maybe skipping down the damn sidewalk, something to just kind of move the energy. I think like humor, laughing just breaks it up, you know, because sometimes I can be so like focused and like, okay, we have to do this. And it's like, you know, that laughter can just kind of like, okay, huge. This is where I am.
Huge. My old friend at work, Ron, we used to put like Post-it notes on each other's desks and they would just say like wild ass shit. So you'd like always, there's like little things like that, or just, like little games or like little fun things you can incorporate and infuse through your day are so important. So giving yourself permission to be like playful and joyful, I think is really, really good. And that will breathe new life and energy into whatever it is that you're doing.
Good ones.
I loved this episode.
Oh my God.
I had the best time. I really had the best
It's
time.
one of those just
girl talk.
Yeah. What do you call this episode? It's like, it's just like butter. We just hang, baby. And it's smooth. It's like, it was so fun. Like, I'm excited to be her friend now.
Yes. Lindsey was like, no new friends, but she's in.
Yeah. When you when you meet someone that you're like, oh, we would really be good friends.
100%. Yeah. She is such a hard worker. She's super smart, super creative. So she has her YouTube channel, which is really big. She has her TikTok. She has her Instagram. She models. She has a new skincare brand. And she just does a lot of things. She's someone that's super dynamic. She's someone that's always thinking ahead. She's someone that wears multiple hats, and she's really open about her life, and she shares things that she learned, things that she's going through. And I find her content to be really educational and valuable and just really grounded and beautiful. So I love her YouTube. That's like my favorite place to find her. And then, she's been a model for years, you know, a long time. She's been one of the biggest models in the world. Honestly, she's worked with some of the biggest brands in the world. And she's really transitioned that in a really beautiful way. And she's someone that is like a body, acceptance advocate. She's someone that, came into the space as someone that they described as curvy or too athletic or too muscular. So I've really found her content around like body love really helpful as well. And our conversation starts with that body conversation, which I know so many of you really find value in our discussions on that.
Yes. And she is a soon to be mom. She is pregnant. So we talked a bit about that, body changes, conversations with her husband, and just transitioning. I feel like she's worn so many hats and had like a few different identities. And so just transitioning into motherhood is a whole other one. So she was very vulnerable about that. And again, the new brand is Covey. It's a skincare brand, so check it out. But thank you, Emily. We appreciate you coming on the show, coming to us in person. It was a blast. And you're a new friend.
Yeah, new friend forever. Almost 30 podcast on Instagram. Check out our Instagram. We're sharing insightful content all the time. Almost30.com. We have information on Lindsey and I, our story. We have our partners there. Podcast Pro is there. Tons of resources. And we've been updating the blog a lot. So we have a lot of informational posts on the blog where we really break down a lot of the learnings from our episodes in a blog form so that you can share it and really dig in deeper.
Beautiful. Thank you for listening. We will see you on the other side.
So you were home during all pandemic, did you?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the city?
In the city. Kyle and I went out to Long Island for a little bit. We were in Wainscott, but aside from that, we've been here.
Yeah.
So just laying low.
Yeah. How's it felt?
I mean, it's just like watching the city go through so much. It was a lot. I feel like now, but it is really nice to see things just start to like liven up again. But then you're also kind of like dipping your toe in. And then I'm like, wait,
I know.
it's okay. Like, am I okay? Is this allowed?
Yes.
Because like, it's just crazy. But I love New York. I'm from New York. Family's from New York. Also, my husband's family's all from New York. So I'm pretty ride or die by it. So I'm just hoping it can and it has pulled through. But I do feel like I was walking around the West Village like 2 weekends ago and it was so young.
Oh my God, it's so young.
Wait, tell me more.
Like, it's just like kids, I don't, are they fresh out of college? Maybe they didn't go. I'm not sure. They're dressed up.
They're probably 12.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're booked. They're busy. And I was like, I don't, or I'm super old. I can't.
100%.
Yeah.
There was people shooting. I was walking this morning at like 9 a.m. and there was a bunch of people shooting in like on Prince Street. And I was like, there's probably like 12 of them.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn. I was
TikTok
like, it's
time.
early. I was like, yo, it's early. The sun is good. And they were full looks shooting.
Busy.
Busy. I was like, whoa.
Not what I was doing at that age.
What I was doing. But it is weird too, where you think I'm like, am I older or is everyone just younger? And it's weird because I feel like a disconnect with younger people.
Yeah, same.
Like people that age, I'm looking at them like,
I know.
what are you about?
Well, they're about a lot. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's
though.
true.
Like they're doing so much now. They're like little business entrepreneurs, content creators,
Yes.
Like
But
I
that's
look at
you.
them, I'm like, yeah, I guess. But I just feel like I wasn't booked and busy at like 16 or 17. I was like getting ready to go to like a quinceañera.
Yeah, literally. How long have you, so when you first moved to New York, was that for your modeling career? And what was that like, just kind of navigating that world, but also within this city? Like we were talking before this about like the energy of New York.
Yeah. So I moved here when I was 17, right after I graduated from high school. And I kind of had to make the tough decision. All of my friends went away to college. And I started modeling in my senior year of high school. And I guess I was booked and busy, like my career took off like fairly quickly. And I was applying to schools, but I was like, am I going to go to school or do I really want to try to be a model full time? And I look back and I'm like, I was so brave because like, I really didn't know if this was going to work out. It's not exactly something that like, being a model, you can be the most beautiful, thin, perfect, energetic person in the room. That does not mean that you are going to be successful or do well, but I really wanted to try, which added a lot of pressure to my plate, I think. And I'm going to age myself, but I remember when I first moved to Manhattan, it was like August after I graduated from high school. It was just when Facebook was starting to become very popular, which I know probably
same sis.
Same.
Same.
And all of my friends were posting like their Facebook albums. Like in basements of fraternities, like having a blast. And I remember being like, oh my God, I'm missing out.
Oh, I'm sure.
I remember I studied abroad and I was literally looking at Facebook albums of like them in frat basements. I was like, God, I want to go back.
I miss the pea smell.
I literally was like in Paris.
And
I'm like,
beer.
man, I miss Hamilton, Ohio right now.
Exactly. But I think also I was just like really lonely when I first moved to Manhattan. I didn't know anyone here. I didn't have kind of like the structure and stability of like going to school and meeting new people here. I was alone living in a studio and like waking up and going to castings and going to work and sometimes traveling. So I think I felt very ungrounded and kind of lost and confused and trying to find my way. But luckily it didn't make me spiral into like any of the unhealthy things that you can get up to in New York. Like I wasn't extroverted enough to be like, I'm going to go hit the club or like do all these things. I was just like alone in my apartment. My husband's like, who does that? Like a 17-year-old, you're young, you're like in Manhattan, you could probably get anything you wanted and do anything you wanted. And I was just like, I was like watching Gilmore Girls and going to Whole Foods when I was 17. I remember.
I mean, 17's still a baby. You know what I mean?
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
But you don't think it then.
I know.
I remember senior year of high school, I was like, I know everything there is to know. Like, I don't need to know any more about life.
I mean, you are like brave and blind and like
Yes.
ready to take on the world at that age. Whereas now, if you asked me to go do that with this brain that I have, no way.
Were you at 17? Because it's hard to be rejected and sort of hear criticism, and especially about the things about modeling is about your body, about the way you look. Like, how were you able to like keep a clear mind and head when you were going through the process of going to castings all the time and being rejected?
I mean, in the beginning, it was really, really hard. Like, I was so green when I came into the industry. And, you know, this was in like 2008, 2009. And back then, all models truly did look exactly the same. Like, everyone was white and blonde and thin and like 6 foot and had a 34-inch hip. So when I would walk into a casting, I really, like, it was very clear that I did not fit in literally and figuratively. Because I was like a size 6 and like a healthy brunette, happy, like just, you know.
Yeah, you're like,
You didn't have like a grimace all the time.
But models were always like so cool and like dressed in all black and like wearing a leather jacket. And I remember I wore like my prom shoes to my first casting and I was like, do you see these bad boys? Like, I look good. But I think in the beginning, like I would just get so much feedback that first of all, of course, that I was too big, too curvy, too muscular. Then I would also get feedback like too happy, too healthy, seriously. People would tell me like going into castings, like you need to smile less. Like you should show up late. Swear to God, show up a little bit late because like you're too eager. Hence why I showed up here at 10:59.
Right, 10:59, baby. I was like, wow, this woman, she's amazing.
But I think the weight comments were really hard in the beginning, obviously when you're 17 years old, but I think I was so young and still figuring out my own body when people told me that I needed to lose weight. Like it did start off as simple as like, oh, well then I'll just like go to the gym and not eat McDonald's. And then that was at first like enough, but of course that escalated into like way more unhealthy behaviors because I was like, oh, this is working. I can keep going and keep going and keep going. And then as a model, like your body becomes your life. And then when you're also 17 years old and I was like, I don't really have anything else to do right now. And I felt so much pressure to be successful because I was like, I'm not in college right now. I don't know how to fix this if this doesn't work out. So there was like a level of drive there that led a lot of that. But yeah, it was definitely hard. Thank God my parents were close and they would come to visit me like constantly. But I think living in New York and just being alone in that atmosphere for the first few years was really tough.
Oh yeah. Do you remember like the conversations in your head you would have about your body? Like, and did that change as people were having conversations about your body to you or not behind your back, but not to your face?
I think like, I remember when I would get feedback or someone would say something and they always try to say it in like a way, now it would never fly. But the things they would say like, oh, you know, just like 5 more pounds. Like I'll never forget I went to a fitting for a job, really big job, and it was shooting in 2 days. And they were like, if you could just do like 3 or 4 more pounds, it would like really make a difference. And I was like, but the shoot's in 2 days. Like how How do I do that? But I think being so young and I was like so driven, like at first I was like a little task rabbit. Like I was like, okay, like if I just do like X, Y, and Z, then that will equal this and like I'll be successful and it'll be great. But the conversations in my head were definitely like dark, obsessive, just like constantly body checking, seeing what I looked like, comparing myself to other people. And then of course, when I look back on those photos now, I'm like, oh my Lord, like I was just like disintegrating right in front of my own eyes. But that inner dialogue was definitely sad and dark and like very obsessive with like just trying to get to honestly nowhere, because 100%. Like you're just literally and figuratively, I was like on a treadmill to nowhere.
Yes. You're like, I think they want me invisible.
Yeah, exactly.
I think they want me like non-existent.
With that kind of dialogue, it's hard to get out of that. So what has been your process for getting out of or like working with that dialogue? Because it's really like it becomes a part of you.
Totally. I think like I did reach a point where I became so fed up with that inner dialogue. And I know it might not be helpful to hear this, but I do remember being kind of having to take responsibility for my own inner dialogue and conversations I was having with myself. Like the thoughts would come in like, oh, you're fat. Like I shouldn't have eaten that, or I shouldn't have done that. Whereas now I'm like, literally shut the F up. Shut up. We're doing something else. I'm not doing that today. We're not going there. I don't feel like it. I'm tired. Like it takes you to such a dark place, but like kind of really intercepting those thoughts when they start creeping in. And like, even now that I'm pregnant, like I found myself sometimes looking in the mirror and being like, oh, well, that was not like that yesterday. Like what is happening? And then I'm literally like, forget it. Like, just stop. Like, what is the point of this? Where are we going with this? But like, just kind of being hard on yourself and taking responsibility in a way to be like, I am in control of what I think about and what I focus on right now. This is going to get me literally nowhere. What else can I do? What kind of habit or what can I focus on that's just going to take me away from that first and foremost, and then have me feeling good after I do it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's always so surprising to me how quickly like my perception of myself can change. It could be like bad lighting outside, or like I didn't get enough sleep. Yes. I'm looking in the mirror. I'm like, you're a piece of shit. Like, well, you know what I mean? It's very weird.
Yes. And then you put on a filter and you're like, wow.
I know. You're like, day is good.
Yes.
Or you know what I'm saying? Like where it's almost, because it's in moments, it's so ridiculous where I'm like, wait, yesterday I was feeling myself.
Yes.
Nothing's changed. Okay. So it almost becomes so ridiculous that like, I almost don't trust my eyes sometimes, where I'm like, this is not real. This is a weird illusion. And like, it's really tapping into like, okay, how do I feel? You know, is there something like you said that can like make me feel really good? And then like the whole chemistry of it completely changes.
Exactly. Yeah, it really is like from day to day, things can change so much, and you play mind tricks on yourself. And sometimes it's like, why do we make ourselves so miserable? Like we're brutal to ourselves. So it's like trying to step away from that.
And I think all of us have had that experience of, you know, you see a picture like during the time you're looking at yourself, you're like, oh. And then you see yourself like 5 years later, you're like, damn, wow, like you looked amazing. And we do that even, it's like the goalpost always changes. Yes. You know, our goal of what we want to do always changes. And I think that's important when you're talking about your self-talk, because it's really like starving the thought out. So it's like an immediate redirect. It's like, nope, we're not going here, like an immediate redirect. So there's like a lot of different ways that people can support themselves in that, whether that's with compassion and love or whether that's like the immediate redirect. That's still helpful. Did you get any therapy, or like, was there anything else that you really...
No, I did not go to therapy, and I definitely wish that I had. I go to therapy now, and I just feel like now at this point, that kind of dialogue doesn't even come up. Actually, I guess it does in terms of like pregnancy, but not how it was then. I think that my biggest saving grace was like going home, being with my family and being with people who like just didn't care what I looked like and what I was wearing and how enthusiastic I was. Like my parents and having that kind of grounding force in my life was really big. Because I think if there's so many models here who come from so far, and they're like supporting their families back home, and they don't have the option to like take a train 90 minutes and like be with their parents who love them no matter what. So I think that was like a big big part for me.
Yeah, that's so important. And what has it been like to be in an industry that I feel like since you've gotten to New York has changed so much, like to see it kind of go from everyone kind of looking the same and the brands or agencies expecting you to be a certain size, look, etc. And now I feel like it's changed so much.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when things first started changing. I feel like what sticks out to me, I remember when Kate Upton was on the cover of Sports Illustrated in like 2013 or 14. And I remember people were like, oh my God. And even now when you look at Kate Upton, like, she's not
100%.
like in any way plus size or like particularly curvy, but people made it sound like it was just insane. Yep. But I remember those moments were like so exhilarating and almost like a weight off my chest, because I was like, every time that you would see someone who looked kind of like you or was a little bit curvier or whatever it might be, I was like, oh my God, things are getting better. Things are getting better. So if I felt that way, I can't even imagine how like the general public feels when they see someone who looks like them on a billboard or a commercial being celebrated, because as a model, I was just kind of like, oh my God, like this is so exciting. Like if she can do that, like maybe I can too. Like if she's good enough to be doing that, that opens doors for me too. So it does make me really, really, really happy. I think it's like because of the power of social media now, I think like brands don't really have a choice. The consumer, whoever you want to call it, the customer, I don't know what you call it, has so much power, and they have a voice whether you like it or not, and they don't want to see the same exact girl every single season that they just don't relate to. I think like relatability is so important today. So it's exciting, but it's also like it also has totally changed like the barrier to entry to the industry. I think that's like to modeling, fashion, to entertainment, whatever you want to call it. It's like probably the same with movie stars. It's like TikTokers are more relevant than like to me, because I love TikTok, certain actors and actresses. I'm like, who's that? But like Addison Rae, oh yeah, duh. Yes, like, didn't you watch her show? So it's definitely like watching it change is interesting, but it's also like exciting, and I just feel like it's the right thing. It's what was needed.
Yeah, it's like such a contrast too, because there's on billboards, there's people that look like us. There's more real bodies. There's skin that's untouched. There's brands that aren't retouching photos, but then also there's like more filter editing that's happening. And so it's weird because it's like I overall perceive it to be positive because I don't think there was that at all. Like I was watching, there was like Friends on the airport the other day on the plane, and I was like, holy shit, they were rails, straight rails. There's no bones about it. They were rails. And I was like, wow, there really was no body difference. Like everyone was sort of a rail, and I was like, wow, it's refreshing because now you see more people just having the bodies. But so it's like that contrast of people having filters and editing and all of that. But for people on the outside perceive models to be a certain thing. And what would you say that like models is misunderstood about models or the modeling industry?
I mean, I think what people don't understand is probably that they think that like you're tall and thin and beautiful and you walk into a room and that's all you need, where that's not true. I think that's one part of it. Like the amount of rejection that models have to deal with and just the feedback is really, really tough. And kind of like what I mentioned earlier, it's not like another job where it's like, oh, hey, like this report sucks, like go fix it. When someone's like, I don't like your face and that's why we didn't book you, I'm like, okay.
Got it.
You're like, me neither. Wow.
Yeah. You know what? Now that you say it,
Yes,
you're right.
Exchange.
So that kind of sucks because there's like this lack of control or lack of ability to be like, well, I'll just work really hard and then I'll be successful. I also think, of course, people think that like modeling is glamorous and easy and all of that. And it's not. Like, you're sometimes standing for 10, 12, 14, 16. I have gone for 24 hours on a modeling job, and you just have to like smile and perform and do what you need to do. And, things have changed a little bit, but when I was modeling years ago, people didn't really care that much about how models felt and how they were doing on set. And it's really hard when you're young because you kind of have to be the one to be like, oh, hey, like I'm unwell and need to sit down, and I would also like a glass of water. And I would also like lunch.
I want to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think also now the newer challenge with being a model is like, you know, being pretty is just not good enough. You need to do more, have more. You need to have personality. Social media matters. So you're kind of doing like 20 jobs at once now in order to kind of like stay out there and out there. So that's another element of it. But I think people see the travel and the jet setting. They're like, that's so awesome. And I'm like, when I think about the periods of my life where I was like the most successful or at the top of my career, I was on an airplane every single day. Like I was so sad. I was so lonely, so homesick, like really confused. You just feel so ungrounded. You're with new people every single day that you've never met before, shooting something and going through something. And it's just the inconsistency and lack of structure for me was always a challenge.
Yeah, I was thinking about the now new pressure, relatively new pressure to have a following, be on social media, like keep up that consistent engagement with your fans, which like is great most of the time, but it's also, you know, it's another job in itself. Like how have you been able to do that and still remain sane and yourself, you know, when you show up online?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely hard and it goes through ebbs and flows. Like I just remember when social media started becoming really important, like agencies and management would be like, "Hey, having a following is like super important. So go like do that, okay?" And I would be like, what? This is like in 2015 or 14 when Instagram started getting big, and it was like, you know, models would have millions of followers and would come onto the scene, and I'd be like, why would anyone care about like what I ate for breakfast? Like, how do I even begin this journey? But I think it varies day to day and month to month and like period of time. Like right now I'm pregnant and so many things just don't feel relevant or interesting. I feel like imposter syndrome and so many different things. But what I try to do with my content is like, I always want to help people in some way, whether that's like how to do something or how I do something or how I overcame something. Like one of my most popular videos on YouTube is how to look good in every photo.
I was just looking at that.
And I remember I felt so cringe when I put that out. I felt so Zoolander-y. Like I'm like, hey guys, this is how you pose. But like almost 3 million people found that helpful to them. And like, that's always what I want when I put out content. I never wanted to be a content creator who's just like, here's the day in my life of just like what I'm eating and like here's like my outfit, kind of like that lifestyle stuff, which performs so well for some people. I always knew I'm like, I want this to help someone. I want them to watch it and go like, oh, I know how to do my hair now, or I know how to do that makeup look now. Just something somewhat valuable to them, even if it is just like something as simple as doing your hair or your makeup. But it is a lot of work, right? But I do enjoy that work because as a model, you show up and they tell you how to look and how to talk and how to smile and what you look like for the day. And you don't really have a lot of say in what happens beyond that. So once I started creating my own content and kind of my own personal brand online, I was like, oh, this is so much fun. Like there's so much you can do and so much you can say and connect with people in a whole new way. Whereas as a model, you're always just kind of this two-dimensional image that people see and they're like, awesome, like you're really pretty, like that's cool, you know?
Yeah, they get to know you, like the real you. And
Yeah.
it is cool because I watch you on YouTube and I was like, wow, she's so cool. You know, because I've always seen you and I'm like, wow. I did think that. I'm like, wow, she's got a great personality. Like it was, and not that I assumed otherwise, but you're like, oh, you know, I don't know.
It really translates on YouTube too,
Yes.
especially if it's like more just you,
Yeah.
right? Not
Yeah.
scripted and
Yeah.
just kind of very, valuable.
Yeah, and you mentioned imposter syndrome, you know, and I'm sure even when you were 17 and you were going through your modeling career, you were feeling that quite a bit. What is the imposter syndrome you're feeling right now?
I mean, I think because I'm a model and I was so used to being, I'm going to say it again, booked and busy and like shooting and on magazines and doing covers and like New York Fashion Week and all this stuff. And right now I'm pregnant. It's COVID. I'm not really participating in that much right now, like mostly by choice, but also just like, it's just not the right time. But sometimes I'm just like, oh, am I just like old and irrelevant? And like, is anyone gonna care? And like, I think also I'm like, oh, does everyone follow me because they think I was like this super glamorous, cool model, and now I'm like a pregnant lady in New York who's like
Dude, I love our
Babe,
inner critic.
you know, family channels pop off.
So true. But I think I just get like, I don't feel interesting. I don't feel relevant. And then you look at what everyone else is doing and you're like, oh, that looks cool and glamorous. I used to do that. I literally was showing my husband like one of my New York Fashion Week vlogs. And I'm like, isn't this so cool?
Oh my God, I fucking love that.
It's like,
And he was like, I've already seen this. And I'm like, so what?
Yeah, honestly. You're like, it's better the second time. Okay.
So I think just putting out content, there's always, I think anyone, I'm sure you guys can relate to this. Before you press send or post, you're kind of like, oh, is anyone going to care?
completely.
But I definitely feel like almost like, I guess, a lack of confidence while being pregnant in a way. I don't know if that's linked to like my body, my career, what I'm so used to doing. So it's just kind of like navigating that.
Yeah.
Oh, I am pumped for so many of you. I've gotten a ton of messages after I took my base test. So this is an at-home lab test. It's so easy. So if you're wondering what's causing your brain fog or sleep issues or low sex drive or weight loss, you're going to get a personalized plan according to your results. And it's just so easy, so specific, and has just made me feel so much better knowing what the heck is going on. So I was doing all the right things. Like I was eating healthy. I was getting enough sleep. Thought I was doing the workouts, the this, the that, everything. But not everything is for me. Not everything is for you. And so when I took my base test, I got some information that really made sense. So I had low vitamin D levels, which is pretty common, but it was explaining my fatigue. My HbA1c was slightly high. So this is linked to your blood glucose levels. And that was explaining my brain fog. So y'all, that is just a touch of the results I got. And I'm like, wow, okay. And some of the suggestions I got were to increase my protein intake, to increase my intervals that I was doing in workouts. So like intense intervals, taking a walk and then sprinting for 30 seconds, walking, sprinting. That's been really, really helpful as well. So I'm just feeling awesome. I would highly recommend trying BASE. So BASE lets you choose from 5 key areas that affect your quality of life. So it's stress, energy, sex, diet, and sleep. Pick one or more areas to investigate, and BASE will send you an easy lab kit right to your home. You take the test, ship it back to them, and receive the results right on your phone through the BASE app. And because BASE makes testing so convenient and affordable, you can implement the changes they recommend and then test again when you want to measure your improvement. So no appointment required. So a BASE membership starts at $59.95 a month. And right now you can get 20% off your first month of membership with code almost30 when you go to get-base.com/almost30. So that's get-base.com/almost30. Learn more or enter the code almost 30 at checkout. Y'all, I'm excited for you. At home lab testing. It is real and it works. And I'm just so happy with my results and how I'm feeling. So getbase.com/almost30 or use code almost30 at checkout. Let me introduce you to a wine brand that, first of all, we've been fans of forever. Okay, forever. Alix, the founder, was on the podcast way back in the day, and they are just killing it. But this is a brand that has fun. Okay, I love brands that have fun. So Bev is perfect for the holidays. I know you have parties and events coming up. Great for gifting, sharing with friends, bringing to the party. Y'all, you are supporting a female-founded and run business. I am currently obsessed with the Bev Noir. Okay, so first of all, sugar-free, 0 sugar. For red lovers, this is for you. It's edgy, it's dry, it's a little fizzy, it's delicate. It's a coastal Pinot with aromatics of citrus blossoms and fresh pomegranate paired with a light blackberry finish. Yo, it is so freaking good. 3 grams of carbs, 0 sugar, unreal. Comes in a cute can. You can get it in 8 packs, 24-pack, 48-pack. This is your party wine, I promise you. They have also the Gris, the Blanc, the Bev Rosé, and the Glitz with the little champs. Come on, baby. Love me a little champs. These are perfect when you don't want to open a bottle of wine. Each can is a glass and a half. It's perfect. Okay, so get 2-day shipping and straight to your door, and shipping is always free. And we worked out a special deal for you, our listeners, Almost 30 Nation. You'll get 20% off your first purchase plus free shipping on all orders. I suggest trying their best-selling Ladies Night Variety Pack so you can check out all of their delicious varietals. Your friends will be so happy. Go to drinkbev.com/almost30 or use the code almost30 at checkout to claim this deal. That's drinkbev.com/almost30. drinkbev.com/almost30. You're going to get 20% off your first purchase plus free shipping. Get that Ladies Night Variety Pack. You won't be sorry. You can also find Bev nationwide at Target, Total Wine, Bevmo, and more.
Issue has helped our business so much, from our marketing team to partnerships to our sponsors. Every single part of our business has been impacted by Issue. It helps us distribute content across every digital marketing channel. We have such beautiful content that our digital team creates, and Issue has helped us bring it to the world in a really easy way.
Yeah. So if you are a creator in any way and you always get tripped up in that part of the process where you have to repurpose something that you've created for different platforms, this is the platform for you. It will take care of it for you, all in one platform to create and distribute beautiful digital content, whether it's marketing materials to magazines, brochures. Like, PDFs are very outdated. We don't need to do that anymore. We want to make the experience of taking in your content just more beautiful and seamless. So Issue will help you do that. And you can start using Issue, ISSUU, for free. They also offer premium features that give you a more customized experience. I recommend Premium. It's very customizable and super user-friendly. You can get started with Issue today for free, or if you sign up for that premium account, you will get 50% off when you go to issue.com/podcast and use the promo code almost30. That's ISSUU.com/podcast and use the promo code almost30 at checkout for your free account or 50% off your premium account. Do not wait until the new year to give yourself a little gift of resetting on the nutrition front. Y'all, Sakara always does it for me. So if you are curious about a plant-based diet, but you're like, oh, so boring, I don't think I can do it, trust me, this brand will change your mind. Their organic, ready-to-eat meals are made with powerful plant ingredients, and they're designed to boost your energy, improve your digestion, and get your skin glowing. I feel like I have a personal chef. So basically, these are chef-crafted breakfasts, lunches, and dinners. They change weekly. I am literally never bored and always so excited to get my meals because it's just like exciting. I feel like they're so creative and they're so delicious. And Sakara also has wellness essentials, so you'll be fully supported. They have supplements, herbal teas, and they also have the metabolism super powder, which everyone loves. This is an all-natural remedy for bloating and fatigue. So if you want to try Sakara, this is your sign. I'm excited for you. Sakara is offering our listeners 20% off their first order when they go to sakara.com/almostsakara. Again, sakara.com/almostsakara, sakara.com/almostsakara, or you can enter the code almostsakara at checkout. That'll get you 20% off your first order. Okay, so my latest Thrive Market haul had a theme, and the theme was fall. I was shopping. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go for this theme. Just like warm things, pumpkin, spices. So let me share a few of the products that I got that I love. I love Thrive Market for this reason. I'm always going to find brands that I trust, love, that are clean, and I'm going to find new brands that I've never heard of before that I'm excited to try. So I got the Califia Farms Almond Milk Creamer in pumpkin spice. I add this to my coffee. It just adds a little kick. I love it. I also got a bunch of cans of the organic pumpkin from Thrive Market. So I'm adding this to my smoothies. I actually just made pumpkin ice cubes because I throw them in my smoothies, or I just use it to save. So when I cook, I add pumpkin to different baked goods. I just made donut holes the other day. Like, I'm just on a roll. I also got the Eden Foods organic apple butter. Y'all, put this on a little toast. I mean, see ya later. I got a bunch of bags of the Bear Snacks organic apple chips in cinnamon. Yummy. I got the Go Raw snacking seeds in sweet cinnamon. So this is great just for snacking, or I put it on my cereal, or the other day I put it in that wrap. It was just delicious. I made this wrap that was like fall themed. Put it in my IG stories. But if you'd like to try Thrive Market, y'all, please don't wait. This is one of the best decisions I have made to get a Thrive Market membership. So it's really great because you can search by lifestyle, you can search by category, by allergies, anything that you want, healthy foods, snacks, body care products, and you're going to save a ton of money. To date, I think I've saved like $700. No joke. I've been a member for almost 2 years now. I've saved $700. It's insane. You're going to save a lot of money. Plus, for every membership, Thrive gives a membership to a family in need. So you're doing an awesome thing. Join today. You can go to thrivemarket.com/almost30, and you're going to get $20 off your first order and a free gift. THRIVE market.com/almost30, and you are going to get $20 off your first order and a free gift. Yeah, I was just thinking about like some of the people that we've had on the show and people that I just follow and respect and kind of go to the most. You know, they are, say, more so in their 40s, maybe 50s, and mainly women are feeling this kind of imposter syndrome feeling because I think the like youth is so rewarded and successful, the TikTok, you know what I mean? So it's just really interesting because like I look at you and where you are now and I'm like, oh, this is interesting.
Yes.
Like you are growing a human. You are a normal person who is like going through these life transitions that so many of us do. So it's just interesting to hear you say that because I totally validate what you're feeling. And as an outsider, I'm like, wow, this is really just beautiful and interesting. And like, you've lived so many lives in your life and you will continue to live so many lives. And like, I think that's what I love about like true influencers or just people that are more public and online. But yeah, I wanted to like, just pin that like feeling. Cause I think a lot of women, especially who have been in a particular industry for a while, are feeling that like, oh, who's coming up? Oh God, yes. I got to do TikTok now too. And I got to do this and that. And it's like, I feel for, you know, that pressure, you know, it's pretty intense. And I wonder if it'll change because I also want like, I have this feeling where I'm like, I want kids to be kids. Yes. I want them to like be kids and not feel like they need to be famous at 17 on TikTok. And kind of allow the adults to like be the ones that we kind of look to, you know, the people that have experience. I don't know.
It's so true. And like a 40-year-old, a 50-year-old, I feel the same way. I gravitate towards their stories and how many different things they have done and accomplished and how many times they've switched careers or made a hobby into something. But I agree that like now youth is just so celebrated and so important and so relevant. It was funny. I was listening to another podcast and they were talking about how many actors and actresses just totally miss when they try to go on TikTok. And they just know that someone's
100%.
manager is
I actually
telling
like
them.
it.
Yeah, I do too.
Like another fail.
You like cringe watch because
Yes,
you're like, oh,
dude.
geez, yeah, all right, okay. But you know their manager was like, this is what the kids are doing.
Yes.
And you're going to do it too.
Also just like, dude, why?
Totally.
Like that whole thing, I'm like, you have enough money.
So
Just
true.
like chill. Like, you know what I mean? Like just chill. Like you have enough money. Stop doing that. It's just weird to me. I'm like, you guys are weirding me out because they're just at their house. They're like, like, I don't know.
I know there's almost like an element of mystery or like
Yes.
separation that's gone now.
Yes.
That like you used to want to know so badly what the inside of a celebrity's bedroom would look
Yes.
like or
Totally.
their bathroom cabinet.
Cribs.
And now we just
Yes.
exactly cribs. You would be like, whoa. Now we know.
Yes.
It's just out there. It's on their TikTok. It's on
Yeah.
their Instagram.
I know it is so much of like the more. world. And that is like being a digital creator, you know, it never stops. Like you technically could be storing everything, posting every day, posting 4 times a day on TikTok, on YouTube, It just like the list never ends. So how do you sort of like keep your head about the social media world?
Yeah, it's hard. Like, I'm not even going to lie. There are certain things, like now that I'm going to have a baby, I'm like, how much am I going to share of that? And that not only the journey or how I feel about it, because I don't know how much people will relate to that or not, but also the actual child itself. Like, I feel like I've talked about this with another friend of mine. She's like, you're just so proud after you give birth. And you're like, it's the coolest thing you've ever done. But at the same time, you're like, I'm like, I don't have your consent to like put you all over the internet, but I want to so badly.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure is going to be the case. I'm like that with my dog. I'm literally like, here's another picture of my dog's little scruffy face. You're going to love it. Trust me. But for like how I navigate it, it changes from day to day. Like my husband is really private and does not have any social media. And like sometimes I share him and then sometimes I'm like, I feel bad almost because I'm like, he just doesn't, this isn't his thing. And he doesn't want to be out there and he doesn't want people to know what he's doing. And like, that's so weird because it's quite normal, actually.
Yes.
To be like,
I forget that about people. I'm like, oh, right. What I do is kind of odd to you. Like it's an odd experience.
They don't need to know like where you're eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner and like what you did on that like very nice Saturday. But I try to just share things that make me happy or smile, or I hope make someone else feel that way, or something that is relatable or something like that. But I am kind of mindful of not oversharing, especially during this time. But also like pregnancy is very triggering for people when you share like what's going on with you. The amount of like very mean messages that I get from people.
Saying what?
Like I shared like a self-care video yesterday and it was kind of like
that video.
Extra self-care video, but I was like, this is what I'm doing. Like I have lots of aches and pains going on. I'm trying to like chill here. And people were like, seriously, like you're never going to be able to do this again when you have a baby. Like this is the end of like life the way you knew it. And like people were like, no one else can actually do this. Like, I don't know, just kept going on. And I was like,
what do you mean?
Yeah, like I'm also like, maybe that's true, but people love to just be like, oh, just wait.
Oh, dude, why do moms do that? Moms on the internet do that. They're like, just wait, you're smiling now. You're not going to smile then. And you're like, hey, this is like a free self-care routine that took 15 minutes. You don't know anything about my life. And it's just like, get off the internet talking shit about people and maybe take like you're not with your kids. If you're commenting mean things, like.
Yep.
Yeah, it's funny. Someone said to me once at dinner, I forget what we were talking about, but it was in relation to like being a mom and being a parent. And this girl was like, people want to see women miserable. They want to see you miserable. And I normally I would not subscribe to something like that, but I was like, that's actually kind of true. So.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I think like misery loves company. And so
Yes.
if like someone can make another person feel like, oh, wow, I haven't thought about that. Yeah, that really does suck. And then they're like, yeah. You know, like they feel validated in a weird, fucked up way.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, oftentimes, this is going real deep, but like oftentimes I feel like the partner isn't validating what they're going through. You know what I mean? So they're kind of misdirecting their resentment or their feeling.
Totally.
You know?
Yes.
Every DM like that, I'm always like,
know.
you need to work that out with your therapist.
100%.
I know. Do you respond to everything or like?
Yeah, I not everything, but I do respond to a lot of DMs. Positive ones, like when people write a really long, thoughtful message, or they're like sharing something, of course. But sometimes people say mean things, and I do just say like "shut up" back.
I fucking love that.
Just shut up, or
I love
like
that.
something like that. And
Would I love a shut up? I'm
love
bringing
a
that
shut
back.
my husband didn't know this about me, but I say "shut up" or just all
love
sorts of
shut
things.
up.
One time I did send someone like a picture of me giving them the middle finger.
I'm
My
obsessed.
husband had no idea that I do that sometimes. So we were sharing it at dinner and he was like, wait, what? And I was like, well, it's really annoying. I was like,
Yes, I love that.
and he's like, show me right now. And I showed him. And he was cracking up because he was like, Emily, what the hell? And I was like, I don't know, blame the hormones, but sometimes I'm just like, shut up.
Yeah, shut up.
Shut up's a good one. Dude, shut up. Yeah, and it's almost like sometimes you just want to surprise them and just be like mean as fuck back. You know, where they're like, oh, you think you can do self-care? It's like, yeah, that's right, bitch. Because they expect everyone that's like an influencer to be like, you're right, I probably can. Thanks for letting me know. Blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm going to star your comment.
You know what?
to
I'm
show-
going to think about that.
Yeah, honestly. I'm glad you brought that to my attention. I'm going to star your comment so I show that I take other people's opinions into consideration. It's like, dude, I'm always like, my page, my rules, baby.
Yeah.
Block. My page, my rules.
I think that's the only way to stay sane.
That's the only way to,
honestly.
and it's almost just like you laugh about it.
I do, yeah.
You know, you
Yeah.
gotta laugh. You gotta be like, yo,
Literally.
dude. Because if
Literally.
you can't be groveling. That's what I realized too. You can't be like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna take every one of your opinions into my consideration when I'm thinking
Yes.
about this. It's like, yeah, there is part of it where like I will truthfully think of things, but you can't be, when people are just like word vomiting. A lot of times when I reply, they're like, oh fuck, I actually, you know, realized
Or I
in
didn't
my
know
life-
you'd reply.
Yeah. I realized in my life that I and they'll go on. I'm like, you're welcome, I guess.
Yeah.
Like for the mirror.
That's always my favorite response. I didn't think you'd reply. Like, I'm so sorry. And I'm
Shut
like,
up.
who do you think is doing all this behind here? We're all like pretty much
Yes.
running our own
100%.
social service. I
Yes.
definitely am. So.
I didn't think you'd reply. You're like, hi.
You're welcome.
They're like, now what? They're
And then
like,
you send the picture.
yeah, literally. They're like, now that I have you, I love Covey.
Yeah, exactly.
We'd love to talk about like just kind of pregnancy and that transition from, you know, the like life as model, right? Like all consuming, so successful. You still are and will be successful in so many ways, including modeling. But I feel like there is this like grieving process that no one talks about when you transition identities of sorts and now transitioning into motherhood. What's the feeling?
Yeah. I mean, I think I definitely struggled with it, like, even just in comparison to my partner, my husband, Kyle. Like, when you find out you're pregnant, like, your life changes right then, right there. Like, almost every decision you make, how you work out, how you eat, how you sleep, literally, like, can only sleep on your side, like, who you're talking to, like, the books you're reading, it all changes right then and there. Whereas like my husband, Kyle, I remember I said something to him like, it's like all I think about. Like, do you think about it a lot? Like, it's crazy, right? And he's like, I don't think I think about it as much as you do. I was like, but I think that's like for evolutionary purposes. And I'm like, wow, like your life hasn't changed.
Yes.
Aside from like tripping over a million boxes that I ordered of like baby stuff, he's like living his life and doing his thing and it doesn't change. But I think in terms of like career and all of that, like pregnancy physically and mentally, I feel like, and spiritually, it kind of slows you down, or at least for me, whether you like it or not. Like you need naps and you can't crush it at the gym like you used to. Like I love working out. Like there's just so many things that like it just slowed down, and I was like, my brain is just not firing at all speeds or all cylinders. But you do kind of, on some moments, there's like that frustration. Like I do have that where I just get like, oh, I just want to like feel good. And I want to like go for a run and not feel like I'm going to fall forward on my face on this like watermelon belly of mine. And I want to put on a pair of high-rise jeans, you know, just stuff like that. But I allow myself to have those moments of frustration. And like, luckily I did consciously make a choice to reach out to friends of mine or try to get closer to friends of mine who have had children or were currently pregnant. Like I remember I went through my phone and I was like, who here can I talk to about this? Because it is hard with like your friends who are like, I have friends who are much younger and like, they're in the West Village and like going out. And I'm just like, guys, I'm like crying over here about a pair of pants that don't fit. I gotta just address this with someone else. And I definitely do kind of mourn certain aspects of my life. Like my YouTube channel, I look at the videos, like I mentioned earlier, like I'm like, oh, I like took it for granted, like how busy I was and how exciting things were. And you know, how much I enjoyed being out there and like creating content and capturing my life and being on set and being with different people all the time. That's also like a COVID thing too, you know, like that changed so much. But I think the biggest thing is like just letting yourself have those moments, but not letting them take take over, because sometimes I'm like, if I let this thought and this like frustration linger on, like I cried, we were on our baby moon and I was like super upset because I was just like really uncomfortable and I just wanted to have a glass of wine and I wanted to like not be so out of breath, and like there's just so many things, and I was crying because I'm like, what if I feel like this all the way until the end and like doomsday? And it's like, you just have to kind of be like, well, I'm not gonna let that happen. I have to be in control of, like, I'm the main character here, so like how can I turn this around? But I also feel frustrated sometimes at moments because I'm like, I have so many ideas and so many things I want to do, and I get into moments where I'm like in a Google Doc and I'm like, this is gonna be amazing, and then I'm like, is this, like, can I do this right now? Like, should I do this right now? Like, I'm going to be having a baby in 3 months. Like, what if the baby comes and I'm like, this is the stupidest thing ever, or unsustainable, or like whatever it may be. So there's a lot of self-doubt for me that has come with it.
Yeah, I wonder too, like when you were doing the videos at New York Fashion Week and before, if you would have been like, you probably would have been sitting there at Fashion Week, been like, God, I'd rather be home and like chilling and like pregnant with my love of my life. It's so weird how we kind of do this, like this was better. We kind of always want to be where we're not where we are. You're like, okay, I'm pregnant with my house, and you're like, I'd rather be out. And then when you're out, you're like, I'd rather be home. So true. It's like always that sort of thing. And I think that's hard because I think we all get into that mentality, where you're like, and then when you have your baby, you're like, oh my gosh, you will totally forget about it. It'll be, but for your eating and your workouts, like, and your routine, like how have you changed that to adjust?
Yeah. I mean, for eating, I think that being pregnant forces you to eat more intuitively than ever. You like don't have a choice. I guess I'm using intuitive eating as like a very positive term for being like, if I want a cheeseburger, like I'm going to have a cheeseburger. Like pregnancy will definitely do that to you. Like there are just some days where I'm like, I need a sandwich, like, and a big freaking sandwich. Like I just need like that in my life. So I feel like with food, I feel much more kinder, gentler, and I eat much more intuitively because every day is so different. And I also hate everything that I used to love, and like vice versa, which sucks. Like my husband's like making the dinner last night that we used to eat and love and all the time. And I'm like, I can't even look at that. And now the whole house smells like this and I'm going to cry.
What was it?
It was like this grilled salmon with like Brussels sprouts, like this whole thing that we used to eat like constantly. And I'm like, I like can't even look at this. And I feel like I can smell it on my clothes now and I'm upset.
You're like, how could you?
It's awful. But for workouts, that's also been a harder one for me just because like I love lifting weights. Like that's my favorite type of workout. I love lifting heavy weights. I love high intensity workouts. It's just my favorite feeling ever. And when you have a great workout like that, you leave the gym and you feel amazing. And I have multiple times in my pregnancy pushed it maybe too hard, and then you leave and you will regret it. Like the rest of the day, you're done. You can't do anything else. You're too tired. Your energy source is so low, I feel like. So I've had to be much lighter with my workouts, but I still work out with a trainer like 2 to 3 times a week, still lift weights, just like much less intense. I do Pilates, but only because my OB told me that her patients who do Pilates give birth quicker. And I was like, oh, do you mean that? Because I'm not a Pilates person. Like I try so hard and I get in there and I'm like, why do you guys like this? It's so boring. And so that's kind of been like my routine for working out, and then just like trying to get in like as many steps as I can a day. Which I feel like the pandemic did that to everyone, like step counting. Like I feel like everyone's like getting in my like 10,000 steps.
I have my Aura ring.
It's my
Me too.
obsession.
I'm charging mine.
You are, dude. Aura ring is life.
It's the best.
People
So
message me
good.
like, "Do you love it?" You're like, "I don't think you understand."
I love it.
I love it.
We're big on trackers in our house. We have that, and then we also have 8 Sleep. So like that mat.
Oh, that's the Tim Ferriss thing?
Yes.
What is it?
Gosh, my husband is like a Tim Ferriss maniac. Anything he recommends, he buys. So it's like this mat, and you can cool the bed down with it, but it also is much better at tracking sleep than Aura Ring because it tracks all of your movement and tosses and turns. We're big on trackers.
I don't know if I could deal with that. That would I'm a mover at night. Lindsay's like this.
I'm in a coffin.
She's literally like, goodbye. And I'm like, I move all
That's
night.
that's only when I'm in, like, usually when I'm in bed with someone that I'm like, oh, I can't, like, you know,
But
I'm
how
not
could you
gonna
be
like
thoughtful
stick
when
my
you're
hand.
sleeping?
I know, I don't
how
know.
is that possible?
I tell my brain.
Yeah,
My brain's
literally.
like,
You're like, codependency
you-
doesn't quit. You're sleeping.
So kind.
Literally, I don't get it. I'm like rolling around. But yeah, the Oura Ring for sleep isn't the best, but for steps, nothing better.
yeah.
Nothing better.
Agreed. I love it.
What has been like really positive about your pregnancy experience? Like just relationship with body or skin, hair? I don't know. I hear all these things like that improve or
I think like my favorite thing that has come with it is like a groundedness and a confidence and like an I don't give a frick attitude
Yes.
that comes with it. Like I think I used to spend so much time thinking about how other people were perceiving me and how they felt and what they thought and if this was okay if I did this and oh I really want this but I feel bad telling them that. When you're pregnant, you're like, listen, I don't feel good and I don't want to eat that and I don't want to go there. So this is what I want to do. Whereas like
I'm obsessed with that.
I don't know, there's just like an unapologeticness. I don't know if that's a word that has come with it for me, but I think like just because I felt so on the other side, like so overly considerate that I would rather other people choose and say always because I would be like, as long as you're happy, I'm happy. And I'm like that in my relationship too. And then all of a sudden I'd always be like, well, I actually like hate this restaurant, don't want to be here. When you're pregnant, you're like, no. I'm going to tell you what we're going to do because this is what I need. Or I actually don't feel like going to that dinner or seeing that person. They don't make me feel great or X, Y, and Z. So I think like that confidence and kind of sureness is really, really nice. And I would say also like there is like a connectiveness that comes with like being pregnant. And like I remember when I would tell people or start sharing it with people, even with strangers, like they're automatically like, are you okay? Like, what do you need? Like this is what helped me. This is what I did. Like women just connect to it so much, which is really awesome. And it's a whole new genre and like that opens up. And I was like, wow, like, I mean, obviously like motherhood is big things, how we all got here, but it definitely connects you with people in a totally new way. Like even with my own mom, right? Like we're talking about being pregnant and like how it was for her and how it was for me. I was like talking to her the other day about like, going into labor and all of that. And she's like, I don't know. Like I had back labor and I had no contractions and I don't know, 30 minutes later you were just there and that's how it was. It's no big deal. And
so
I'm
funny.
like,
The brain's like, forget all
honestly.
the craziness.
I'm like, okay, is that all right?
Is that helpful?
I mean, it's just interesting to hear because I'm like, yeah, you went through this 3 times, like 30 years ago. Like, it's totally valid. But I do love the connectiveness that it brings with other women. I've enjoyed that.
What about with Kyle?
With Kyle, I think like it's just he's so prepared and like on top of things all the time. And so I think it's definitely brought like a solidness, a groundedness, like a level of partnership that I really enjoy and like. Like you're like, we're making a whole person. They're going to be in that room soon. And just like talking about who we'll be as parents, what we liked as what our parents did, what we want to instill in our children. I really do like that. It's like manifesting or envisioning your future, like creating kind of like a mood board in your head of like what you picture. I really, really enjoy that. And you know, it's nice to see him just kind of like get excited for like being a dad and especially a girl dad. Like it's sweet. And I know it's going to bring like a level of softness to him that I think is going to be like very beneficial. Cause he's very like type A and rigid and like, this is what you do and this is how it works. And then people are like, oh, just wait till you have a child and especially a girl, like she's just going to be wrapped around your finger and all of your rules go out the window. So I definitely like look forward to that, but I do like it definitely grounds you in a way. And it's made me feel like definitely like a stronger connection to your life, I guess.
Yeah. Have you had to have any hard conversations with him?
Yeah, definitely. Because like, I mean, I think for me, the hardest part was just the body changes at first. Like, and I just remember being like, I need you to tell me every single day that I look amazing. That I am just so
simple.
so gorgeous.
It's a simple ask.
Yeah.
It's a simple.
Easy.
I just need you
It's free.
to really.
I'll say that to Justin. I'm like, Jade, I look so pretty today. He's like, I told you twice. I'm like, when? I'm like, I don't think so.
Like, how loud did you say
I
it?
literally, I'm like, did you text it? I'm not sure. I heard.
Yeah, I mean, my love language is words of affirmation, but I think also just like when my body really started changing and I was feeling uncomfortable and like unsure, and there's nothing that can prepare you for what happens. I just remember saying to him, like, I really need you to like celebrate me and champion me. And his love language is not words of affirmation. Like, he's always like, I think you're beautiful. Do I have to tell you like every day, like 5 times a day? I'm like,
Yes.
Yes.
yeah, you do. Because I forgot. And I need you to say it again.
And it needs
Isn't
to be
it-
unique. It needs to get unique.
Yeah.
The thing about the love languages, that's what's interesting. It's like you can know your own. You're like, I am words of affirmation, but the important part is like that you learn to give what your partner, you know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, his is acts of service. So his is like helping me with so many other things and like going out of his way and like cooking me dinner, which is so nice. But when he's like, I really like that outfit. It's like really nice on you. I'm like, what?
Wow.
I know.
That's so
This whole thing. Yeah. You're like, oh. It's funny too. Like as the longer you date, it's like at the beginning, you're like, babe, you look hot.
Yeah.
And then as you get longer, you're like, you look nice. And you're like, okay. You know, like, have I gotten uglier? Like it becomes like nicer. It's like, you look nice. You're like, oh, you look cute. You're like, cute. What? I was sexy.
Oh my
I was sexy
God.
years ago.
I'm looking at these pants. Sean, I wore these probably like 5 days in a row. And he's just, and I didn't think guys saw, like, noticed or cared. And he's like, you know, do you think we can get you like a new, he's like, I don't know. I just want to see you in like new clothes. And I was like, what? And it like, I was like, whoa. Like sometimes I get into those things where I'm like,
Yes.
you know, he thinks I'm beautiful and all these things. But then I'm like, also, Lindsay, you've been wearing the same thing for 5 days and maybe someone cares.
they're paying attention.
Which, yeah, I was like, oh, you're paying attention. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Totally. But I think that was definitely one conversation I had to have. And like, that needs to be like a concerted effort on his end. And I think, also just the frustration and resentment in a way that I felt towards him in moments, like I mentioned earlier, like everything's different for me. My body's changing. I feel like I'm making all these sacrifices and you're just like in there on your conference call and you're like, I'm expecting. And everyone's like, yay. And I'm like,
So true.
but you're not doing anything. Total
That's probably
resentment.
so relatable.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is so funny.
But I think those are like the two biggest things. Yeah.
Oh my God, I love that. Yeah, you're like, yeah, they're like, congrats. It's like, thank you.
Yeah.
How many more months?
Yeah, literally. He's like, I don't know. Yeah.
I said to him the other day, I'm like, oh, I'm like 26 weeks or something. He's like, this is flying by. I'm like,
I love him.
literally was like, is it?
Honestly.
Is it? Oh, wow. Okay.
He's
All
like,
right.
oh fuck. I love that when they just never know. They never know what to expect. You're like, this is flying by, and you're like, is it? And he's like, oh fuck, that was the wrong thing. You know, he's like, God damn it,
So wrong.
Yeah, he's like swung and missed once again. I mean, in this too, you started your brand, which is
Yeah.
unreal.
Yeah, I mean, we launched Covey, my skincare brand, in March, and then I found out like a week later that I was pregnant.
Wow.
So that was really surprising and shocking. Like, we weren't trying, but we weren't not trying. But I did not expect that at all. And that was like, I looked at like the videos and photos from like our launch week and I'm like, I was pregnant here and I had no idea. Like, and I was like so stressed and like getting everything ready and so amped up and excited and all these things. And I'm like, that poor little thing, like held on tight because there's a lot going on that week.
Like, is this going to be like this forever?
It's like a lot of action. But it's definitely been, luckily my business partner, Christina, she is my best friend. So when it all started happening and that first trimester is rough, you're tired, you're nauseous, all of that, like I could lean on her heavily and be like, listen, I gotta like just get through these few weeks. Like I might not be quite as on it as I would like to be. But actually that's like really insane now that I reflect on it, that those first few months I was pregnant
Crazy.
of launch and everything. Yeah.
But it's almost like in it, like, you know, you have always been so busy. You're just like, this is what we do.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
what we do. But yes, of course. Like your body is going through a massive change. It's affecting not only physically, but mentally, emotionally. Yes.
Yeah, I absolutely wouldn't have it any other way though, you know, like
Yeah.
if I was pregnant and just not doing anything and just kind of like sitting around, that's exactly what my mom said. She's like, I just sat around for all three of you and just waited for you to come. Like, you're doing way too much. But I'm like, if I did that, I can't even imagine like how I would feel. Like, being productive and like connecting with my community or whatever it may be, like those satisfy me and make me feel good in a totally different way. So I don't think I would change that. Like I tend to over say yes or overdo things, but I'm like, if I need to scale it back, I will. But yeah.
Why skincare?
So for skincare, I mean, that was something I've been in beauty for so long. Like as a model, I was like always doing beauty campaigns. My skin was so important for my life. And I kind of came from the more is more mentality, meaning like I would be at work and if anyone recommended anything to me, I'd be buying it and I would be adding it to my routine.
You'd be like, which step? And they're like 14. You're like, perfect.
Yeah, like
I had
I'm
a hole there.
I already have one of those, but I'll do this one too.
Yes.
And my skin would just be like falling off when I would go to work, and like I would be always working with the same makeup artist, and she'd be like, Emily, like what are you doing? And I'd be like, it'd be like peeling everywhere, and I'd be like, I'm using like this new thing, and like it just takes a few days. I realized that I was combining all of the wrong products, all of the wrong ingredients. I realized that I was messing up three key things, which was like I had no idea what products I needed in my routine. I had no idea if they worked together, and I had no idea what step they were supposed to actually be used in. And then myself and my business partner, we shared this kind of common confusion, overwhelmedness with skincare, and we did a ton of research on skincare addiction on Reddit. We were on Twitter, we were in my comments on YouTube, and realized that people felt the exact same way. They were so confused about those key three things. The beautiful thing about the internet, like it just tells you, because these forums and these places, people are having massive conversations about what they're confused about. So we decided to create this simple 3-step compatible routine. We partnered with a dermatologist. So we just wanted to take the guesswork out of creating a skincare routine for people. And we wanted them to feel taken care of. It's like, these are the 3 steps that you need to have great skin. But it took us 3 years to formulate. We tested it on over 150 different people with different skin types, ages, backgrounds. It was a very long process to get the products right, but I'm glad that we took the time to do it. But it's all that I use and we love it so much. And we've gotten such a great response, which I'm so, so happy about. But going from being like just a model to like then a content creator to now like having a business. And this really isn't one of those things where like, you know, lots of celebrities and people just like put their name on something and like put it out there. This was a very long process that we went through, and the formulation process. So on one hand, I love it because I'm like in every single inch of the business and like what's happening. But then sometimes I'm like, oh, it would be nice if it was just
Slap a sticker.
yeah.
Yeah, honestly.
I know.
You're like, I get it.
Yeah. But big time imposter syndrome there, right? On that note, like there's just on calls, like I would always tell my business partner, we're always on GChat while we're on calls together. And I'd be like, this is the question I want to ask. And I would just send it to her because I would be like,
That's
I
hilarious.
don't feel I'm just a model or I'm just this. Like I'm not a business person. I don't know. That's been the hardest thing for sure.
You're like, I look pretty. They're like, so tell me. You're like, I have good skin. I look pretty.
Meanwhile, I'm on GChat like, ask them this. What's happening with this?
Yes.
But like it's so funny to think about that, because like as a model, like you've had to be kind of like it's like entrepreneurship in another way.
Yes.
You know, you have a manager, you have all these things, but it's like you really like you have to manage your schedule in a way. You have to like keep up like with the skin, your body, etc. Like it is a whole other type of entrepreneurship. Like that's making you a lot of money and you're really successful. So with this, you know, I guess, what have you learned about yourself as you've kind of gotten over that hump of like being an imposter, and like what your strengths are within the business? Yeah,
I mean, I think one of the key things that I've surprised myself with, I guess, is like that I have pretty good judgment. I think with that imposter syndrome came so much doubt and feeling like I don't know, and I didn't go to college, and I didn't go to business school, and this person's super smart and experienced, but it's actually like my experiences and my work as a model and travel and working with so many different types of people. Like I actually am okay at navigating like kind of difficult situations or conversations at times way more than I realized. I'm like, oh, I've dealt with way more difficult people than this at work. Like, I got this.
Yeah, you're like, I fuck you in the DMs. Okay?
Yeah. Yes, if you had DM'd me this, you would definitely get a shut up. But because in a business context, let's work this out. I think so. I've been like happily impressed with that I have good judgment and awareness. I think I would always think like, oh, I'm not like book smart or anything like that, but I'm good with people. So like, I'd be like, oh, I don't have IQ, but I have EQ, and it's actually like, no, like those things are blended. Like you having one or the other, it's not necessarily always better. But I think I'm so glad that I've gotten to this point, because it's like I was so afraid to like ever launch anything, and then you're like you always impress yourself, I feel like, which I'm sure you guys can relate with. You put something out or you do something, you're so scared, and you're like, that's so much better. This came out way better than I ever could have dreamed, and I wasn't even gonna do it. Yes. You know. Yes. So
yeah, and then when it's important though when it's like reflected back to you and like that's amazing. You're like, oh, yeah, I know. You know, like if it was always appreciated with like your team and your support. And so besides Kyle and your best friend, like, are you guys, is that your main support for everything? Because it's hard to do this all. So like, who's your support?
Meaning like in terms of the business,
yes.
Who else is involved? Yeah. So we just hired a chief growth officer, which is really awesome. She's so smart and she's just so awesome and fits in with us so well. Cause it's like, it's kind of hard. It's me and my best friend. Right. And I'm like, I feel like anyone walking into that situation might be like, oh, like, I don't know how to, she's just so great. Like we had a bunch of events in the Hamptons this summer, and we were all like, I was like, well, why don't we just all stay together? Which like very startup-y, but I'm like, it's fine. And she just totally gets it. Like she's one of us and she just fits in so perfectly. And then we also have someone else who supports us more on like the administrative customer service side of things. But it's just the four of us. And for a while it was just me and Christina. And then for a moment it was kind of just Christina because like I was like throwing up in the toilet. But luckily now it's like four great women, like, and we all just kind of power through everything together, which is awesome.
Wow. What's the dream for the brand?
I mean, I think the dream is like, of course, to launch more products like in the shorter term. And we always really are committed to creating skincare essentials that people can use, like all skin types, backgrounds, and ages. But I think generally like creating this routine really resonated with a lot of people, and finding a way to bring more simple, effective routines into people's lives, whether that be in another category or in another way, whether it be through content or product, whatever it may be. I think that's kind of the goal, but to continue to build the brand and, you know, have true fans and people who love it, and it's like change their lives is the main goal.
I love that.
Yeah, the moisturizer texture is really nice.
Thank you.
I'm all about
it's
texture.
The best.
All of it's got to be that texture.
It's
texture
so good
is
under
so
makeup.
Nice. Good under makeup. And then I like the vitamin C.
Yeah,
That's
so
nice.
vitamin C, it's awesome. It's like most people are used to kind of like that different, most people use L-ascorbic acid, which has like that really weird smell, and it has that orangey look to it sometimes. People always complain that it was like too harsh or the smell was so bad that it also oxidizes L-ascorbic acid and loses all of its effectiveness, whereas we use THD ascorbate with our vitamin C, which is more gentle, more stable, meaning like it oxidizes, it doesn't oxidize and lose all of its effectiveness, and does a better job at penetrating the skin. It has like a completely different texture, so people are always like, and no smell. Because that smell, the hot dog water.
I thought that too. I was like, wow. Because I'm
The
used to
hot
that.
dog water, damn.
Yeah, where it's like orangey and then kind of like burns and smells like orange. I'm like, this is vitamin C.
Antioxidant.
Yay. Ow. Yeah. Ow. So good.
Yeah, the products are amazing.
I'm glad.
Truly.
Glad you guys have
Yeah.
tried.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are skincare critics, so.
That's awesome.
We keep it simple though.
Yeah,
I'm
truly.
not like I don't like all the steps. It's like with hair care. You're like, okay, I got matte spray volumizing spray, shine spray. Like, you know what I mean? There's so many things. You're like, what?
Hair care is another one
Like-
where it's like texturizing, curling one. I'm like, which one makes my hair look good?
Thickening.
Yes.
Just help me.
Blah, blah. I know. Same.
I know. I think
Same.
just overall simplifying the routine is like something that I'm hearing more and more of, where it's just like, because we can get we're so inundated online with like, try this, do this, product this, you know, routine this. And it's like, okay, I see the value in that, but also like it's confusing people.
Yes. And there's so many experts and like voices in the space, which is awesome because people never had access to that before. But at the same time, it's like, what do I really need here? Because I'm not here to try 11 face
And
masks.
everyone's getting paid for it too. So it's like hard
Never
to
know.
be like, what's real?
Yeah.
I'm one of those people, but I'm honest. Where can people connect with you and learn more and follow your journey, especially being pregnant and to be a mom?
Yeah, you can find me at Emily DiDinato on Instagram and YouTube, TikTok. I believe I'm DiDinato Emily. Skincare for Covey is just at Covey. Come say hello. I promise I won't say shut up. I mean, unless you
Gotta come correct.
me.
Our community comes correct. They are like angels.
know.
They're like literally everyone always says, they're like, your community is the kindest, nice. They're so the
Oh,
best.
that's great to
They're
hear.
gonna love you.
That's awesome. I'm so glad.
Yes.
And
They'll
welcome
probably
them
send
with
you a
open
middle
arms.
finger just to be cheeky.
Just to be cheeky. Yeah. You're goofy.
My DMs are just going to be like a bunch of.
That would be fucking rad. I know. Just to be everyone like. So there's something really that's satisfying about the middle finger.
You gave me the middle finger yesterday.
I did yesterday. We were on a call and I was like, it's just like the best. You're just like
Efficient.
Yeah. Sometimes Justin will be like in the room and he'll like open the door like a creep and he, like put his middle finger just in the door. That's really funny.
Oh, well, thanks for being
This
here.
is so much fun.
Thanks for having me.
Yes.
This is
All right.
awesome.
All right, guys, we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Thank you so much, Emily. You can find Emily DiDinato on Instagram, just her name, and then her YouTube. She's also on TikTok. And then her brand is Covey. It's Covey, and it is incredible.
And thank you to our sponsors for this episode. As always, just bringing you those brands that we love and use ourselves. We consider ourselves the really good vetters of brands for you all. So you can find all of our discount information in our show notes, as well as on our website, almost30.com. Just scroll down and click on partners. Thank you all for listening. If you loved this episode, please share with a friend. It means so much to us. And we'll see you on the next one.
We'll see you soon. We love you guys. Bye.